and welcome to Dancing in the Rain with Valarie. This is Valarie Yosway. Today is March 8th, 2022, and it is International Women's Day. So I felt compelled to record an episode that I've been wanting to do for a really long time called Wonder Woman Mindset. The last podcast episode I recorded was at the end of November. Since then, a lot has happened. In December, I was a guest on a podcast called Cancer Talks, so if you have time, you should definitely check that out. It's not so much about cancer, it's more about the amazing people that have been brought into my life and the positive changes that have happened in my life since being diagnosed with cancer. The same day the Cancer Talks episode was released, I found out that someone very close to me was diagnosed with breast cancer. Also in December, my kids and I performed in 2 recitals, and then of course there was Christmas. On February 3rd, I was interviewed on an Instagram Live by Dr. Mikhail. Her name is Mekel, so if you want to look her up on Instagram and add her, she is amazing. The interview was an hour after finding out that my grandmother, Busha, had passed away. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull myself together for the interview, but since the topic was grief, I figured it was the perfect time to talk about it. I called my brother before the interview, and he said he thought it was divine timing, and I agreed with him. I felt so supported during the interview by Dr. Mikhail and my friends and family who were watching and leaving comments. A few days later, I went to a funeral, but I like to call it a celebration of life. Sandra, who has been teaching my son and daughter ballroom dancing for almost 9 years, lost her husband. It was a huge loss for everyone at the studio, but watching Sandra and the kids dance after the funeral was the most beautiful example of dancing in the rain that I have ever seen. 3 days after that, the person I mentioned earlier had a double mastectomy. The next day was my grandmother's funeral. On March 2nd, I was a guest on Dance Talk with Joanne Carey. The interview was focused on how healing dance has been for me and my children, how it has gotten us through the loss of my husband, my friend Sarah, both of my grandmothers, and going through cancer treatment. Although I haven't recorded my own podcast episode since November, I've been sharing my stories and messages on other podcasts, Instagram Lives, and there is a feature story about my family in this month's Collingswood Living magazine. Now, let's get into today's topic, which is having a Wonder Woman mindset. What is a Wonder Woman mindset? Simply put, it is the opposite of a victim mindset. It is very easy to slip into a victim mindset when things go wrong. We lose someone we love, our relationship ends, we are faced with health issues, it goes on and on and on. The bottom line is that life is stressful. Our mindset changes everything. We have a choice. Are we going to use these stressful and traumatic events to feel sorry for ourselves, or use them to make us stronger, more resilient, and to discover hidden truths about ourselves? Of course, the second option sounds much more appealing, but it takes work. But I will tell you that it's always worth it. I want to make sure that everyone understands something. After a traumatic event, there needs to be a grieving period. Crying, sleeping, therapy, whatever it is that you personally need to process your feelings is absolutely necessary. Although the grief becomes a part of us, it does not have to consume us or destroy us. Trauma and grief can refine us, but they do not have to define us. Basically, the main themes of a Wonder Woman mindset are that your past does not have to define you. Your past does not define you. Or your future. Oh, I'm so confused. Your past does not define you. Your past does not define your future. I'm sorry. Empower other people. Use your pain as fuel to move forward, not feeling sorry for yourself or thinking of yourself as a victim. This past Saturday, March 4th, marked 1 year since I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And other than being diagnosed and going through breast cancer treatment and beating breast cancer, I've been through a lot of other things, as I mentioned before, and in many of my other podcasts, losing so many loved ones in the past few years, other people in my life being diagnosed with cancer, just, all of us going through COVID and my kids, being traumatized with remote learning. And, I could go on and on forever, but that's not the point. The point is, I do feel like a Wonder Woman, and I interact with women every day who I can clearly see are also Wonder Women. But I've noticed that some of them don't realize it. I realize that some women just need to be reminded of how strong they are, how much they've been through. And I wanted to read my Facebook post that I posted today for International Women's Day. I said, "Happy International Women's Day. I want every woman to know that they are Wonder Woman. Think of all of the things you have overcome, how strong you are, and all of the incredible things you do and are capable of. It's amazing, isn't it? Oftentimes, we don't give ourselves enough credit. We criticize ourselves and think of what we could have done better. We need to stop doing that. We need to acknowledge our strength and celebrate being a woman. I am raising my daughters to embrace life's challenges and to constantly evolve into more resilient versions of themselves. A victim mindset serves no purpose. We are warriors. We have survived everything life has given us and will continue to do so. Not only will we survive anything that's thrown our way, we will thrive. We've got this." Every life event we experience, whether it's negative or positive, gives us wisdom. If we use the stressful, negative, traumatic events to strengthen us, we can use that wisdom not only to strengthen ourselves, but our friends, our family, our children, everyone around us. It's not easy. I've been through some very dark, painful periods in my life, and especially in the past few years. But I realized that I could use my wisdom from these traumatic experiences to fulfill a higher purpose and help other people instead of feeling sorry for myself or feeling like a victim. I decided to start a podcast and talk about the trauma I've experienced, including cancer, loss, grief, rape, pretty much everything that I've been through. What's the alternative to a Wonder Woman mindset or a positive mindset? The alternative is to feel victimized and feel sorry for yourself. That will affect you mentally, emotionally, and physically. And that just reminds me of when I went through my cancer treatment. I was diagnosed almost a year ago, March 4th, so pretty much a year ago. May 5th, I had a double mastectomy, a bilateral mastectomy with immediate reconstruction. Then that summer, I had 24 radiation treatments. Then I had COVID for 2 weeks, which was not fun at all. And then after I recovered from COVID last September, I had my tubes and ovaries removed. And then a month or two after that, I started taking letrozole, which is an estrogen blocking medication that I will take once a day for the next 10 years. My point is that my cancer treatment really wasn't that bad. And I don't want anybody to get mad at that statement because I am friends with tons of women, that are have either gone through cancer treatment or are currently going through cancer treatment, and I know that it can be hell. I know that chemo is awful. I watched my husband go through it, and I've watched, some women go through it. I know radiation can also be awful for a lot of people. I am just speaking for myself, and that's all I can do is speak for myself. And for me, the only explanation I have, and the only explanation that my doctors have for how well I handled my treatment, every part of my treatment, is the fact that I had a positive mindset from the very beginning and that I am active. They are the only two things I can attribute to how well I dealt with my cancer treatment. And looking back on it, I didn't realize this until I was interviewed for the Cancer Talks podcast, but I realized that Mark was so positive throughout his whole cancer treatment, even though he had stage 4 esophageal cancer and his chemo treatments were brutal and he was in a lot of pain and really suffering, but he stayed positive the entire time. Even in hospice, he was positive. And I didn't realize how much that affected me. It was probably at that time on a subconscious level. But when I was diagnosed last year, it was almost just natural to me. I said, I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to be fine. 3 days after a bilateral mastectomy, I was at the dance studio for Sandra's birthday party dancing. I had drains on both sides of my body that I just covered with a sweatshirt. I felt completely fine. During radiation, which my radiologist thought it was strange, I thought it was strange, but I was just enjoying every moment of it. I actually had more energy during radiation than I do normally. So I was more active than I normally am during radiation. I felt great. And if you go on my website, which is DancingintheRainwithValarie.com, you will see all 25 of my radiation pictures that I took. I wore a different t-shirt for every treatment, and then I started to bring in props, and it kind of just, snowballed from there. I brought in boxing gloves and butterfly wings, and I just made it fun, and I actually looked forward to every treatment. The radiologist and the radiology technicians were absolutely amazing, and they supported me through it, and they took the pictures for me. Sometimes they were in the pictures, but I made it fun. That brings up another thing that I wanted to mention, just so that people know. I have a program called the Butterfly Effect, where I will send butterfly wings to women to wear on their last chemo or radiation treatment. A friend of mine just sent me pictures today. Today was her last radiation treatment, and she looks absolutely beautiful. And I was explaining to her how, I sent her the wings, and she's posting pictures of her wearing the wings. So she will be an inspiration to her friends and family that see the pictures on her Facebook page. And then that will inevitably carry over to somebody else who sees that, and they'll say, hey, she was really positive during her radiation treatment, and I want to be like that. And then it will go on and on. So, one person can change the whole world is the concept of the butterfly effect. And I'm really proud of the program, and it really just makes me happy. I decided not to ring the bell on my last day of radiation. I chose to wear the butterfly wings. That's where the idea came from. So if you know anybody going through chemo or radiation that would like a set of butterfly wings sent to them, reach out to me. Or if you're going through cancer treatment and you would like a set for yourself, they're beautiful. You can take pictures with them. And for me, and for the women that I send them to, it really just symbolizes a transformation and turning into a butterfly, and not letting cancer treatment, destroy you, and you are not crumbling, and you're not You're not letting it destroy you. You're actually becoming a more resilient, stronger, more beautiful version of yourself. I can't even count how many times I've had conversations with people and we will start talking about things that I've been through, and then it just goes from there. And then one event leads to another event. And then I basically wind up telling them what has happened since 2018 when my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer. He battled cancer for 9 months. He passed away, then my friend passed away, then my grandma passed away, all in 2019. Then in 2020, as I mentioned, the kids were home for remote learning, global pandemic, something that we never thought we would experience. That was really crazy. On Christmas Day of 2020, I had my appendix removed. And then March of 2021, I was diagnosed with cancer. And then for the rest of 2021, I pretty much was going through cancer treatment. And then, it just really never ends. People will say, it just seems like it never ends with you. And I don't think it ever ends, but I also don't, this whole episode is about not feeling sorry for yourself and not feeling like a victim, because the bottom line is there is absolutely no good that can come of feeling sorry for yourself and feeling like a victim. And I never want anybody to look at myself, to look at me like I'm a victim, or to look at my children like they are victims. And I am raising them to not look at themselves as victims. And that has been very beneficial, because like I said, there's actually nothing beneficial that comes from looking at yourself as a victim. So I like to say they're my little warriors. And in no way does that mean that we don't cry or grieve or have feelings, because we do. We have times where we break down. I watched The Notebook with Nadia a few weeks ago, and I cried for about 45 minutes after we watched it. I was thinking about Mark during that movie. I was also thinking about my grandmother that just passed away because she loved Ryan Gosling and she loved that movie. And I was also thinking about my other grandmother that passed away in 2019 because she passed away from dementia, and the woman in the movie has dementia. So there were so many reasons why I was breaking down and crying from that movie. So in no way am I saying I'm a warrior and I'm tough all the time and I'm Wonder Woman and I don't have feelings. That is not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is sit with your feelings, feel all the feelings that you need to process your grief or your anger or your sadness or your trauma or whatever it may be. You need that time. And it could be a day, it could be a week, could be a month. For everybody, it's different. But like I said, and this actually came up during my interview with Dr. McHale, and she also believes that there becomes a decision time where you're like, okay, I grieved. And as I mentioned before, the grieving does not ever end. It becomes a part of you forever. And you can always revisit it. You can always go back and cry, and that will be there for the rest of your life. But in the meantime, you have to live your life. And what is the purpose of not living your life? People that we have lost are gone, but we are still here. So we have to live our lives. So whatever brings you joy. For me, it's dancing. It's watching my kids dance. And, that's the major thing for me is dance, which is why my podcast and my website are called Dancing in the Rain with Valarie. For me, it's actually literally dancing in the rain, but for other people, it may be painting or singing or, playing a sport. Everybody has something in life that can bring them joy. So when I say dancing, for me, it's literally dancing. For other people, it could be a whole list of other things. Something that came up in both of the Instagram lives that I did recently, both with Joanne and Dr. McHale, was a quote that I came up with. And it's so simple, but so powerful. And I think everybody needs to hear it, to be honest with you. A friend of mine, her father passed away, and I don't know, a week or two later, we met up to have coffee. And I said, "How are you doing?" And she looked at me and she said, "I'm actually okay." And she seemed, almost like she was whispering. She didn't want anybody else to hear that she was okay after losing her father. And I looked at her and I said, "It's okay to be okay." And as soon as I said it, we looked at each other and we were like, wow, that should be a thing. Because what is a thing, and what you will see everywhere, there's t-shirts, there's, so many things online that say it's okay to not be okay. We already know it's okay to not be okay. We are well aware. And it's true. There are times where we are not going to be okay, and that's okay. But what I have never heard or seen online is the complete opposite of that, which is it is okay to be okay. And to give you an example of what I mean, when my husband and friend passed away in 2019, I went through a, 2 or 3 month grieving period where I was sleeping a lot. I wasn't really eating. I was crying a lot. And then I remember the day where I sat up in bed and thought, I can't do this anymore. Enough is enough. What is my plan moving forward? And I decided to start dancing again after not dancing for 21 years. And that's what helped me grieve, process my grief. It helped the physical feeling of grief being trapped in my body. It helped it come out. And it also brought so much joy into my life and into my children's lives. And it showed them, like, they were looking at me thinking, wow, mom is dancing and she seems so happy. So by me being okay, I was letting my children know it's okay to be okay. And that's not something that's generally accepted or really taught in our society. It's more, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay to break down. We know that. But people need to know that it's okay to be okay. It's so simple. But when you really think about it, it's not something that is discussed very often. And I'm trying to change that. I actually have t-shirts now. I gave one to the owner of the dance studio, and I have one for myself. And she actually said something really interesting. The t-shirt was posted on Facebook, and she left a comment under it, and she said, I really, this comment really resonates with me because she recently lost her husband. And when she's at the studio, she's totally in her element. She's teaching and dancing, and that's what brings her joy. And she wonders and feels that sometimes people look at her and think, wow, she just lost her husband. How is she okay? And that's exactly how I felt. I felt that I wasn't upset with anybody. It was just a feeling I had when I would post pictures on Facebook or Instagram of me dancing, and I looked so happy and my kids looked so happy. I could tell that some people were confused and maybe even judging us, which is fine. Everybody is entitled to their opinion and their feelings. But the point is that they were confused and judging because they could not comprehend how we were okay after what we just went through. Again, we did grieve, we went to counseling, but then there became a decision. What are we going to do moving forward? We can't bring these people back. And the grief is always there. We can revisit it whenever we want, but what are we going to do moving forward? It was a conscious decision, and I decided I am going to go back to dance after not dancing for 21 years. And not only did I start dancing, I've been teaching ballet for the past 2 years at the studio. I dance at 2 different studios, and all 4 of my kids have never stopped dancing. And, dance has gotten us through pretty much every single thing that we've been through. So the whole "it's okay to be okay" comment, I know it sounds very simple, and it is, but when you really think about it, allowing yourself to be okay after traumatic experiences, a lot of times people just kind of go with what they think and expect what they act the way they think people expect them to act. Now, if I had done that, then I would still be sleeping in bed and crying and just being miserable, and that would not serve my life in any way, or my children's lives, or anybody around me. So, I just want people to know that it's okay to be okay, and that's really important to understand. I have my 3 beautiful daughters in my podcast studio with me right now. Natalia, Valentina, and Nadia. Natalia is 15, Valentina is 10, and Nadia is 8. She will be 9 in May. And because it's International Women's Day, I thought it was the perfect time. I've always been telling them that they will be on a podcast episode or several episodes, but for this to be the first time that they speak on an episode is very important to me, and it means a lot to me. So first I'm going to interview Natalia because she's the oldest. And I am just going to ask you, we've been through a lot of things, obviously.
Yeah.
We have lost a lot of people. And, we've been through my cancer journey and other people's cancer journeys. We've just been through a lot in life. I think it's safe to say more than a lot of other people. So my question to you, Natalia, is when I say it's important to have a Wonder Woman mindset, what does that mean to you, or what comes to mind when I just mention Wonder Woman?
To me, it means to be powerful to other people and to make them feel a certain way, to make them help others, to just keep going, to persevere through whatever you're going through, because people have it worse, and I just think of it that way.
I guess, I always tell you guys to not look at yourselves like a victim, to look at yourselves as, we went through this really tough situation. We went through this really, really heartbreaking situation, but we have to live our lives. And from what I've seen as your mom, you have never stopped dancing. You have, always stayed positive. And I'm just asking you from a personal perspective. So when we go through really tough times, which we've had a lot, especially in the past couple years, how does having a Wonder Woman mindset or a positive mindset help you get through these tough times? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just honestly how you feel. And I've seen it in you. I just want you to explain it from your perspective because you're a teenager. So for any teenagers listening, it would be really important for them to understand where you're coming from.
So my strength came from thinking of what my loved ones would want of me. So I moved on with school and dance very well because I thought of what they would want me to, like what they would want me to do, what they would want me to be happy and not sad. And yeah.
I really like that because I think that a lot too for myself and for all four of you, that Daddy would 100% want us to keep dancing and do whatever it is that makes us happy and live our lives to the fullest.
Yeah, he wouldn't want us to stop whatever we were doing just
Right.
because something bad happened, to just
Right.
keep move on.
And sometimes the way I look at that is it's obviously devastating when we lose people that we love. But even though they are gone, we are still here and we still have to live our lives. And that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I think that's really awesome. Now I'm going to ask Valentina, my 10-year-old daughter, some questions. So, Valentina. Hi. I think out of everybody, I see you talking about the Wonder Woman mindset and writing things about the Wonder Woman mindset more than anybody. So I'm really curious to see what you think about it. When I say Wonder Woman or Wonder Woman mindset, what are the thoughts that come to your mind?
So, I think of powerful, strong, tough, fierce, inspire Wonder Woman. But the thing that really comes to my mind is leader, because you're like our leader, and you made us go through a path, and that path led us to you teaching us that anyone can do anything, and that anyone can be Wonder Woman. And I think all of those things combined can really,
So by me sharing my messages with you, are you saying that you can share those messages with other people?
Yeah.
Because you feel it so strongly?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as I mentioned when I was talking to Natalia, we're very open about things that we've been through, because it's healing for us to talk about it, and it's also healing to for me at least. When I started my podcast, I originally said I just want to help people because I've been through so many different things. I want to talk about it and help other people. I didn't realize by talking openly about it that it would also be so healing for me. So I guess what I'm asking you is, what I'm saying is I was very open with saying, in 2019, we lost Daddy, we lost Sarah, we lost Meme. That was a really tough year. And then in 2020, you guys had to go through a really huge change with remote learning because of COVID. And then in 2021, I was diagnosed with cancer and had to go through cancer treatment. So as a family, we've been through a lot. But as I said to Natalia, I've also seen such a strength in you, where you also did not want to stop going to school or stop dancing. And I know dancing was very healing for all of us. But what helped you mentally? Everybody's different and everybody processes everything differently and everybody deals with everything in a different way. But as you said, I think what you're saying is you've got the message from me that this is how we're going to deal with this as a family and this is how I deal with it. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, you still have a choice, a personal choice. Just because I say I have a Wonder Woman mindset and I want to be strong and I want to become a more resilient version of myself by going through all these things. That doesn't mean that you have to, but I have seen that you have done that. So when we went through all these traumatic experiences, what were you thinking in your mind, and how did you get through it as, a 9-year-old and now a 10-year-old?
So, one thing I did, I kept reminding myself everything that we've been through. I just kept reminding myself we're a strong family and dancing, even though I was really upset. When I danced, I went sad to happy. Like dancing just like healed everything. And then that's when I started knowing that it's gonna be okay.
So what do you think about Wonder Woman? I know that you mentioned you and Nadia have to choose to dress as a superhero on Thursday for school, and you both have chosen to dress as Wonder Woman, which I love. But other than being a superhero in a movie, in real life, in a practical situation, what does a Wonder Woman mindset mean to you?
Like, how can I say it? Like, she's not you are a Wonder Woman, but everyone else too. Like,
I love that.
Even though everyone goes through something hard, even if they haven't, they can still be a Wonder Woman.
Exactly.
And
I love that.
I really want to say it, but I'm not going to interrupt. But I feel like if I could say that could make a big difference to everyone. They would actually understand what I'm saying. But sometimes they say like Wonder Woman isn't real, and I get what they're saying, but like saying about like the powers, teleporting, stuff coming out their hands, but
exactly,
we're not meaning it in that way. We have our own special power by helping people and all that type of
So I think
stuff.
What you're saying is sometimes I'll see this picture on social media and I always repost it because I love it. And it says, Wonder Woman is not a fictional character. Wonder Woman is a mindset. And that's kind of what you're trying to tell your friends, is that you don't mean like my mom is Wonder Woman in the movie, but my mom is Wonder Woman in real life, in the way that she deals with things and the way that I teach you guys how to deal with things.
Yeah, and I should tell my friends, like, you're Wonder Woman too. She's not the only one. Anyone can be Wonder Woman.
Exactly. And that's my whole point. I love that you brought that up, because I tell people that I feel like a Wonder Woman because I've experienced so much loss and grief, and I've beat cancer, and I have been through a lot, and I feel stronger every time I go through something. But it's not just me. Like you said, I feel like, my kids, I feel like all 3 of my daughters are Wonder Women, and I feel like so many of my friends are Wonder Women. And I feel like every single day I come in contact with women that are Wonder Women, but they just need to be reminded. Even some of my doctors, they'll see my backpack or my shirt and they're like, oh, I love your Wonder Woman backpack. And I'll look at them and I'll say, you're Wonder Woman too. And they stop and think about it. And it's, they never thought of themselves as a Wonder Woman, but then they start to think of all of the things that they've gone through and how strong they are. So I think that's such an important point that you brought up, that, I totally understand why the kids in your class might not totally get the concept, but even if 1 or 2 kids in the class get it, then you're spreading the awareness and the empowerment. And I think that's awesome. So, is there anything else you want to say before I switch over to Nadia? You could say whatever you want.
I'm thinking good. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Now I am sitting with my daughter Nadia. She's 8 years old. She will be 9 soon. When's your birthday?
May 6th.
You don't have to sit that close. You'll be fine.
May 6th.
She will be 9 on May 6th. So Nadia, you heard all of the questions that I asked your sisters, and I kind of have the same question for you. So after all of the things that we've been through, especially the past couple years, what does Wonder Woman or a Wonder Woman mindset mean to you?
So, like, what does Wonder Woman, like, mean to me?
Yeah, or the Wonder Woman mindset.
When
What just pops in your head when you think?
when I hear, like, the Wonder Woman, I think of, like, what Valentina said, fears and stuff. I also think of people who go through rough times, and I also think of you, because you're the one who, like, started the Wonder Woman thing, and now other people are doing the Wonder Woman thing after what they've been through, so I kind of think of you and other people having a hard time.
I think that's a good point, and that's what I'm trying to spread awareness to through my podcast and on social media is that if parents, if especially mothers, don't look at themselves as victims and look at themselves and consider themselves a Wonder Woman and strong and a warrior and very resilient, and they teach their children, especially their daughters, that they can also be strong and resilient, and get through anything that happens in life, and just become a stronger version of themselves instead of crumbling or falling apart or being a victim. That's the most important thing for me. I don't ever want for myself, I will never let myself feel like a victim. And I don't want you guys to ever feel like you are victims, because life can be hard and life is also beautiful, but we are going to go through rough times, and we have been through many, very difficult things in the past couple years, not only with losing a lot of loved ones and my cancer treatment, but also COVID. And you guys had to, be homeschooled for a long time. And then it was very awkward and hard when you went back to school. So the past few years have been a test for all of us individually and as a family, as a community, and actually, as the entire world was going through a rough time with COVID. And now, with the war that's going on, and this is kind of the whole point of my podcast about Dancing in the Rain. It's about living your life, finding what brings you joy, and pushing through those rough times. It's not easy to do, and we're not saying it's easy to do, but it is always worth it in the end. To when you come to decision time, when it's like, am I just going to shut down and be miserable and stop dancing and, just be mad at the world? Or am I going to keep dancing and keep hanging out with my friends and finding ways to bring joy into my life and to stay happy? Because as, Natalia and Valentina mentioned, that's what our loved ones would want. And that's ultimately what we want for ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that you love in life in general?
Like what?
What do you like to do?
If I'm going through a rough time, I like talking to you about it.
No, I mean, just what do you like to do?
That I like to do. Contortion.
You're a contortionist, right? You do ballroom and Latin dancing.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you like?
My tarantula.
Right now I'm sitting right next to Bella, your tarantula. You love insects and animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are all things that bring joy to your life. So
yeah, whenever I'm upset and you're not around, I just go on my bed and think about these things, or just hang out with Bella, and it just makes me feel better.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that after everything that we've been through, I have seen Wonder Woman in all of you. And as much as I can teach you and tell you that, we should be strong and that we should choose to do things that make us happy, ultimately the choice is a personal choice. And the fact that all three of you have chosen to, take on that Wonder Woman mindset and use that Wonder Woman mindset, is amazing to me and makes me very proud and very happy. And it makes me happy because as your mother, I love to see you guys happy. So I as much as I could tell you all day long that, we have to push through and, do these things that make us happy, the choice ultimately comes down to you. I can't force you to think like this or to feel like this, but all three of you have done it. And I'm just very proud of all three of you. And, watching you dance and watching you do contortion and watching how much you take care of your tarantula and, how happy you guys are. That's what this is all about. And that's what the message that I'm trying to spread, specifically on this podcast episode that I'm doing tonight. It's about the Wonder Woman mindset. So that's why I wanted to interview all three of you. It's International Women's Day. And I thought it was really important to interview my daughters and see how you thought at all different stages of life about Wonder Woman and strength and getting through tough times. So if there's anything else you want to say, you can say it. It could be anything you want.
I think I'm good. I don't know what to say.
Anything random you want to say to everybody listening?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you. I love you, and it was great. Want to say bye to everybody?
I know you will. Bye.
This whole concept of the Wonder Woman mindset and basically choosing to be positive and having a warrior mindset as opposed to a victim mindset reminds me of something my dad always used to say to me. And I used to think he was crazy sometimes because I would be going through something awful. And I would always call my dad and he would say, "Is it a blessing or a curse?" And in the moment that I was telling him what I was going through, I said, "Of course it's a curse. This is horrible. Why is this happening?" And then every single time, sometimes it would happen right away. Sometimes it would take, maybe a month or two. But I would look back and I would tell my dad, "You were right. That actually turned out to be a blessing. I can't believe it." And that's what this reminds me of, because so many things that we go through, and everybody has their shit, right? Everybody has their stuff. I think I've been through a lot of stuff, but I know people that have been through a lot more than I have, and more tragedies and traumas. And I know people that have been through less. So it's not a contest. Everybody has their own stuff that they're dealing with. But the bottom line is everybody has stuff. I have never met a person that has never dealt with anything stressful or traumatic or experienced any type of grief. I don't think that's possible, because this is a human experience that we're going through on this planet, and it's just inevitable that we will have stressful, traumatic experiences. So if we accept that truth that these experiences are going to happen, we can almost prepare ourselves mentally beforehand. How are we going to react when this happens? Again, we will need to go through periods where we cry and grieve and deal with the situations. But after that, I'm talking about when it comes to decision time, we can prepare ourselves and plant the seed ahead of time that I'm going to get through it. I don't want to feel like a victim. After, the initial grief period, I am going to push through and be strong and bring joy back into my life. The best part for me about having this mindset ingrained in me is that I am not afraid of anything. I've been through hell and back several times, and I feel stronger now than I ever have. And that's something that's really interesting when I try to explain it to other people that you would think over time and after losing so many people and having cancer, and it just seems like it never ends, you would think that I would get weaker. But I actually feel stronger every time a traumatic event happens or, something really stressful happens, because I'm still here and I'm still dancing and I'm still raising my kids and I'm still fulfilling my purpose and I'm still happy. So it's almost like I look back on these things and look at them like, wow, that made me stronger. That made me even stronger than the last thing. So I just keep becoming a stronger, more resilient version of myself, which is a really good feeling to have. I know I will experience more trauma in my life, but I also know that there's nothing that I can't handle. And that's how I feel. And that's the message that I'm trying to pass on to everybody who's listening. I wanted to read something that I had saved on my phone. Sometimes I feel like when I read these things that I have screenshotted on my phone, it might get my point across better than it is by me explaining it myself. It says, "You've been through 1,000 things in your life people don't even know about. You've experienced things that have shook you, changed you, broke you, built you, and taught you to be stronger than you ever thought you had the ability to be. And you are who you are for all of it. So the next time someone judges you based on a small part of what they see and how they interpret that, remember who you are. Remember how much you've overcome, and smile and keep walking, because you don't have a single thing to prove to anyone else. You've already proved so much to yourself, who muddled through storms that people didn't even see because of how you carried yourself." And I just wanted to read one more short quote that I always post on social media. I absolutely love it. It says, "I looked at my pain and said, 'You're here, but instead of crumbling like you want me to, I'm going to make something beautiful out of you.'" So I'm going to end this episode by telling everyone that I know that everyone has the ability to make something beautiful out of things that could make you crumble. So I just want everybody to know that there's a warrior inside all of us, and it's just a conscious decision, and it will not only benefit you, but everybody else in your life. And I just hope that my message gets across. If you have any questions or want to reach out to me, I would be more than happy to, share my story or hear your story. If you're interested in being on the podcast and sharing your story, I would love to hear it. So reach out to me with my email. I have an Instagram. I have a Facebook. So just reach out and I will see you guys next time. If you have any questions, comments, or just want to reach out, you can email me at ValarieDancingInTheRain@gmail.com. And my name is spelled VALARIE, DancingInTheRain@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for your support.